There is, however, a degree of all Muslims being Arabized. All Muslims to a degree have been Arabized. What I mean is that in the Islamic faith, the 5 daily prayers that are said by Muslims, they are said in the Arabic language. And these are memorized. So Arabic is a language of liturgy, similarly to how Latin used to be a language of liturgy for all Catholics. And those standards have been loosened, and now there are many services in many countries, including here, where the Mass is not done in Latin. But the 5 daily prayers are done in the Arabic language. The Quran, as believed as Muslims, is only in the Arabic language. So not only for its purposes of reciting, but to be a qualified imam, a religious teacher, to be the head of the community, that religious teacher, irrespective of their nationality, has to have a good command of Arabic grammar and Arabic etymology. For example, I have been given the title, or I'm called in my community, imam. I'm an assistant imam of a mosque in Detroit, Michigan. I took a certain amount of classes in Arabic language and etymology to read the Quran, to teach the Quran, because a human being can't teach a book that they can't read. It's not possible. So in this aspect, all Muslims have memorized certain passages of the Quran which we say, and many words that are in the vocabulary of the Quran we use on a daily basis, be that person Muslim, be they Arab or non-Arab. The 4th misconception is that jihad means holy war. Jihad in the Arabic language does not mean holy war. Jihad in the Arabic language does not mean holy war. And let me repeat for a 3rd time. Jihad in the Arabic language does not mean holy war. Jihad literally means struggle or exertion. It comes from the trilateral root in the Arabic language called jahada, meaning to strive or to struggle. And as understood in Muslim theology, there are basically 2 types of jihad, which I will define for you. There is the lesser jihad, which is outward. Then there's the greater jihad that's inward. So lesser jihad is called al-jihad al-asghar. And this jihad consists of all human beings, not just a Muslim. All human beings have the intrinsic desire or urging, and they have the natural human right to defend their lives, their property, and their dignity. All human beings have the right to defend those 3 things: their lives, their property, and their dignity. And if anyone by force attacks any human being, Muslim or non-Muslim, with a gun, a sword, tries to kill them, expel them from their land, and take their wealth, all human beings have the right to this form of self-defense. Whether you believe in turning the other cheek or not, your own inward drive, your own nature, we believe in Islam, will summon you to want to rise up to defend your life and your property and your honor. But in this outward jihad, which is called lesser jihad, there are strict rules which have been given in the Quran and in the prophetic traditions of Prophet Muhammad 1,400 years ago that far precede modern standards of just war. These are clear. These are nothing that are open to a lot of interpretation. They are very clear. They are very explicit, not something implicit. One is that we are told that a Muslim is only allowed to fight those that fight against you, meaning combatants. That Muslims are not allowed to fight against or kill elderly, women, and children. Muslims are not allowed to kill workers in the field. Farmers who are just going about their business. This also goes underneath civilians. Now there's one exception to this. The exception is that in modern times, women have now begun to take on roles that were traditionally male roles for thousands of years, meaning that now, in these days, women sign up to be in the military and they fulfill combat roles. So if a woman is in a combat role where she's flying a MiG aircraft or she's carrying an AK-47 and she comes to attack a group of people, then she's fair game just like a man when it comes to self-defense. She's fair game. Also, in this outward jihadist outward struggle, Muslims are not allowed to torture. The Prophet Muhammad clearly states in his prophetic traditions, and whoever tortures people, most certainly God will punish him. So we are not allowed to do cruel, unusual punishment, like having prisoners stand in awkward positions, depriving them of sleep, depriving them of food, water, whipping, these things that are clearly prohibited in Islamic jurisprudence. Also, let me backtrack and make another point in relationship to killing the innocent and how it's prohibited in Islam, except for combatants. This is why there's a basic consensus for the most part, for most Islamic scholars have given what's called fatwa, or religious opinions, that nuclear weapons are impermissible in Islam. Even the man who was made a boogeyman by our country, Ayatollah al-Khomeini, when he first took over the government in Iran, he said that nuclear weapons were impermissible and he called them weapons of Satan. He called them weapons of Satan. So if you were to read the various opinions of jurisprudence to Islamic scholars from Egypt to Indonesia, you would see that the major Islamic scholars have decreed that nuclear weapons are un-Islamic because they would inevitably kill civilians. Also in this jihad of self-defense, outward jihad, it is clearly stated that trees should not be cut down. There should not be a scorched earth policy. The crops of the people and the land should not be burned to try to use this as a collective punishment upon all the people to deprive them from food. Similarly, livestock, cattle, cannot be killed as a tool of warfare. This is also strictly prohibited. Something else that is strictly prohibited in Islam is suicide and suicide bombing. And I can't be any clearer than this. A verse in the Quran says, "And do not kill yourself." It's an imperative command. I mean, you can't really get too much clearer than that. And do not kill yourself. There is another saying in the prophetic hadith, the holy hadith called Hadith Qudsi, where God says that he has forbidden paradise, or he has forbidden heaven to the one who has taken his own life. So the committing of suicide in Islam is done at the risk of eternal punishment of hellfire. Also in this outward jihad, the last point I like to make in outward jihad is that there is also another circumstance in which Muslims can enter into jihad, outward jihad. If a group of oppressed people come to a Muslim government or to Muslim leadership, and the oppressed people don't have to be Muslim, they can be non-Muslim. And these oppressed people say that we're fleeing for our lives, these people are killing us, they took our property. The Muslims have a sacred obligation to protect those people who have been oppressed and